Both Sony and Microsoft have now fully unveiled their next-gen consoles, and along with that we got a glimpse at a ton of games that will be releasing on them. So with that said, here are 18 games that have stood out to me so far that you should be excited for on the PS5 and or Xbox Series X. Let's kick it off with one of my favourite announcements from one of my favourite series, Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart. While no release date has been announced, it's quite likely going to be a launch title for the PS5 and makes fantastic use of its incredibly fast SSD, allowing you to jump through rifts into entirely different locations in the blink of an eye, something that simply wouldn't have been possible on the PS4. Rift Apart looks absolutely amazing with a ton of new zany weapons, and even includes a new playable character in the form of a mysterious female Lombax from another dimension. Game 2 is Resident Evil Village, which has you resume the role of Ethan Winters years after the ending of 7, who is now finally living in peace. However, Chris Redfield, a character you'll no doubt know from past entries, disrupts his life with unknown motives, pulling Ethan back into a new twisted nightmare and in search of answers. Featuring witches, werewolves and all other manner of creepy things, the next installment in Resident Evil will have us all at the edge of our seats when it releases sometime in 2021 on the next-gen consoles and PC. Next up is Spider-Man Miles Morales for the PS5, which is essentially a standalone game, much like 2017's Uncharted: The Lost Legacy. As the name suggests, the game lets you play as Miles Morales as he uses his newly found powers, and we use the DualSense controller's unique features to really let you feel the tension of Miles' web swings and each of his attacks for the advanced haptic feedback. The use of the SSD will also allow you to almost instantly fast travel across New York without those pesky loading screens like in the first title. Game 4 is the next entry in the long-running Assassin's Creed series, Assassin's Creed Valhalla. Moving on from Alexios and Cassandra, you are placed in the hands of Eivor, a Viking in England during the 9th century. You'll be able to choose whether Eivor is a man or woman and be able to heavily customise their appearance more than ever before. Not to mention, you'll now have a settlement which you can build upon and change as you progress. Even though Valhalla is a cross-gen game, I have no doubt it will still make use of all the extra horsepower the PS5 and Xbox Series X have to offer. Game 5 is Halo Infinite, which is no doubt Microsoft's biggest game of 2020. Like Assassin's Creed Valhalla, it is a cross-gen game, but based off the in-engine footage they've shown of the Series X version, it looks extremely technically impressive, thanks at least in part to the new Slipspace engine. 343 Industries are describing it as a spiritual reboot and a new chapter for Master Chief, so hopefully it's a return to form of when the series was at its peak, and I'm really looking forward to seeing some gameplay of it as it nears its holiday release. Game 6 is the racing simulator Gran Turismo 7. While racing simulators may not be everyone's cup of tea, they are no doubt the best genre to show off a new console generation's capabilities, and that's no different here with GT7, producing visuals that are borderline photorealistic thanks to aspects such as ray tracing. GT7 sees a return of the classic simulation mode and will make use of 3D audio to give you greater awareness of where other cars are, not to mention haptic feedback so you can feel the tyres grip the road as you turn a corner at speed. Game 7 is Scarlet Nexus, which looks like a fusion of Astral Chain and Code Vein. With humanity on the brink of extinction from the threat of brain-eating mutant creatures called Others, you take control of Yuito Sumeragi, a new recruit in the OSF with psychokinesis, allowing you to lift, break and throw pieces of the environment to build up your combos as you attack your foes in some fast, engaging combat. Scarlet Nexus is being worked on by many former members who developed 2008's fantastic Tales of Vesperia, so this is definitely one to look out for in the future. Game 8 is Godfall, which is coming to both the PS5 and PC. Godfall is essentially part of the looter-shooter genre, although instead of shooting, you'll be slushing your way through enemies as one of the last exalted knights in order to prevent an apocalypse from happening. Being all about loot, you'll travel to various different realms and acquire different pieces of equipment called Valor Plates to beef up your character. Godfall is due at the tail end of this year, and while it definitely looks like it still needs some more development time to iron out a few of the kinks, has the potential to be a great PS5 launch title. Game 9 is easily one of my most anticipated sequels, Horizon Forbidden West. This sequel sees the continuation of Aloy's story as she moves west and discovers new machines to fight and threats to face. Even though the trailer didn't give too much away, it seems organic life is being affected by a mysterious red plague that she will attempt to find a way to stop before it takes over and destroys everything. Horizon Zero Dawn was arguably the best looking game on the PS4, and based off of the trailer, it seems Forbidden West will be following in its footsteps, providing a visual showcase of what the PS5 can do when it drops in 2021. Number 10 is Senua's Saga Hellblade 2 by Ninja Theory. Despite being revealed at the Game Awards last year, we still don't know too much about it, but the first game was fantastic, accurately exploring mental disorders such as the effect that psychosis has on a person, so I'm really looking forward to what direction Ninja Theory takes the sequel, especially considering the announcement trailer implies it might be even darker this time around. No release date has been given, but this is one of those games we could see be a launch title for the Xbox Series X. Game 11 is Demon's Souls, a complete remake of the original by Bluepoint Games and Sony's Japan studio, with the former being the team responsible for the near-perfect Shadow of the Colossus remake and Uncharted collection. Demon's Souls is particularly special as it was the first game by Miyazaki that kicked off the Dark Souls style of gameplay that is so popular today, and I've no doubt Bluepoint and Japan Studio will do an incredible job of bringing the classic up to date. No gameplay has been released yet, but we know it will feature ray tracing and two modes, one that focuses on visual fidelity and one that focuses on frame rate. Moving on to Game 12, and we have Kena Bridge of Spirits by the indie development team Ember Lab. Ember Lab is actually an animation studio at heart, and I believe this is their first ever game, but so far it looks great, with visuals that you could easily mistake for a Pixar movie. Kena is a story-driven action-adventure game that features fast-paced combat with plenty of exploration as you try to help trap spirits you come across throughout the world. Despite appearing to be a light-hearted title, it will explore plenty of darker themes, and thankfully it won't be long before we can get our hands on it, as it's scheduled to release at the end of this year. Up next in number 13 is a game I've spoken about on the channel a number of times before, Watch Dogs Legion. Originally Legion was going to release in March of this year, but following Ghost Recon Breakpoint's failure, Ubisoft delayed all its major releases. Regardless, it looks promising, with it being set in London and featuring a unique mechanic where you can play as any NPC, each with their own strengths and weaknesses. Rumour has it that it will be a launch title for both the PS5 and Xbox Series X, so its release might be closer than we think. Number 14 is a quirky game called Little Devil Inside, which was kickstarted in 2015 and has been in development since. The game is an action-adventure RPG and has a striking art style containing high-quality realistic environments combined with more simplistic, lower-poly character models, and that might sound terrible, but it works surprisingly well. There has been a little bit of controversy over some of the enemy designs supposedly being racial stereotypes, but the developers have apologised and said they would change it. It's being confirmed as a PlayStation-timed console exclusive, but will be coming to other consoles at a later date. Number 15 is Rainbow Six Quarantine, a fully fledged PvE game based off of the limited time mode Outbreak from the immensely popular Rainbow Six Siege. Quarantine is set several years into the future, and together with your squad, you will face a new breed of mutant alien creatures in order to survive. All we have so far is a teaser, but no doubt Ubisoft will show more of it in the next month or two, and it could be an unexpectedly big hit. The next game is Pragmata, which looks like it's been plucked right from the mind of Kojima, sharing some similarities with last year's Death Stranding. It's difficult to say too much about Pragmata, as we still have no idea what kind of game it is, or even what its story is about, but I'm intrigued to find out more at the very least. Sadly, out of all the games in this video, this one is probably the furthest away from being released, as it's due to come out in 2022 on the PS5, Xbox Series X and PC, but hopefully the wait is worth it. The second from last entry is Gods and Monsters, which is being developed by the team who created Assassin's Creed Odyssey, and will be taking inspiration from both that game and Zelda Breath of the Wild. Aside from an extremely early build that made its way onto Stadia temporarily, we really only have a teaser to go by at the moment. However, Ubisoft are planning to show more of it this summer, and apparently they're going to debut an entirely new name for it as well. Last but not least is Hitman 3, which will have a much darker tone than previous games and will feature 6 new locations, including Dubai, which was showcased during its announcement. Interestingly, Hitman 3 will allow you to import the maps from Hitman 1 and 2 if you own them, giving you 20 plus locations to play around with, and you'll be able to import your progress and weapons from the second game straight into the third. While not a next-gen launch title, it's planned to release not too long after them in January of 2021. That's it for today. If you enjoyed it, be sure to leave a like, subscribe and hit that bell icon to receive notifications when future videos are posted. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.